Hello, hello, and welcome once again. J76NY here, and we are playing Torpor Games Suzerain. This is episode 17 of our douchebag playthrough, and we are about to move on to the next chapter, or the next turn. So let's get right into that and see what we have to do in the governance of Sordland. Wealth of Nations. We have very little, but we're going to make the most of it. How things go here. I say I'm pretty impressed with the different direction this playthrough has taken in relation to my other one, where I tried to play it fairly honest. But this one is it's quite different. It's quite different. Let's see, what do we have to do? A lot. Right here in Wholesword. Let's check out Stallport, or Valgsland here. General elections held in Agnolia this week had resulted in the victory of the Norse Democratic Union of Agnolia for the second time, with its leader Martin Van Horten continuing his duties as Prime Minister. The last episode we pissed him off pretty good. He stuck our nose up in the face of his tradition. Oh, hell with him. Lockhaven Times, health requires more resources. Latest report coming out of the Ministry of Health regarding the current situation and the need for privatization raises serious questions about the gargantuan scale of effort required to solve the structural issues of health in Sordland. One part of the report about the threat of potential epidemic being real stands out as it highlights the problems of the current voluntary vaccination policy. Minister Benewall has increased his calls for more financial resources to be able to make more changes to welfare within one term to cover existential issues like epidemic prevention. The report on potential effects of privatization also include the downside of what damage private interests could do inside the system of healthcare. However, the ministry points out that a small-scale implementation, the one it proposes, would be able to deliver efficient results. That may be a way to go to make some money and get our budget out of the hole. Planned economy aside, this is hurting us, I think, in terms of our overall economy and the recovery from the recession. So we may need to step away from that very slightly to get the economy back in working order, I guess. From the Radical, the hidden power of men in uniform. I'd be careful, Radical. We already arrested one of your journalists. No political leader in Sordland can survive in office without some sort of support from the general staff. President Arthur Wissey was a leader who learned this lesson the hard way. In 1927, a military coup brought an end to his short time as president, and later, President Alfonso became a target of alleged conspiracies by the Old Guard, who we are buddies with, who are known to be very close to the general staff in the Swordish armed forces. Though nowadays fewer officials assume the role of political leaders, military influence continues to have major repercussions in politics across eastern Mercopa. According to a report by the Alliance of Nations, Sordland has one of the most influential militaries in the region, coming in just behind Wayland, where the actions of generals indicate serious military interference in politics. As the report shows, men in uniform still enjoy considerable influence on politics of Sordland, and nothing is being done to reverse the situation despite the country's history of coup and civil wars. And nothing will be done because I want my military to be very involved. Alright. Ministry of Health has finished a privatization proposal plan in order to increase the resources of the health system and to increase the quality of services through small-scale market competition. Additionally, the ministry reports highlighted the weakness Sordland has when it comes to potential epidemic. Minister Benewall reports that much more could be achieved through the healthcare system if a private sector could slightly assist by generating new revenue streams and adding new services. Okay. Ministry of Justice files Urson versus Sordland concurrence. The Ministry of Justice has reviewed the Urson versus Sordland case and put forward its concurrent opinion before sending the dispute to the Supreme Court. The Vice Minister of Justice came forward agreeing with the case of Ishmael Urson and pointed out that a majority of the court dissent would do disservice to the legal precedent of future constitutional rights cases, which we're not really all that concerned about. General Staff has convened at the Ministry of Defense today to assess the security conditions of Sordland. More than 20 high-ranking officers were in attendance and discussed several war plans, the internal stability of the nation, and overall state of the armed forces. And now we will meet with Joseph Lancia. I arrived at the cubic building that housed most of the military command that resided in Sordland, in Holsword. Blah, blah. The gray and brutalist structure looked daunting. I never liked this building. It always made me feel like I was standing under the concrete foot of a giant getting ready to crush me. It made me feel small, and I never quite got used to the feeling even after this many years. At the entrance, I was greeted by Yosef and his military entourage of young officers. Welcome to the Ministry of Defense, Mr. President. Go to my office. We walked from corridor to corridor to reach the office. On the way, we were met with high-ranking officers as well as privates. Every time one of these soldiers saw me, they stopped and saluted. When we finally arrived at Yosef's office, his entourage saluted us and left. He closed the door and took a seat. Whereas Vulcan, he usually partakes in all military meetings. Must be serious, especially since you invited me here. Begin. What's the matter? Where's Vulcan? Vulcan is busy at the moment, overseeing the defensive strategies against Rumberg. He leaned back and interlocked his hands. The situation with Rumberg is getting worse, and if it wasn't for our investment in the military, I would be even more concerned. I will make sure it won't come to that. Not everything might be up to us, sir. Our efforts to restructure the military should prove beneficial in a potential conflict. We would never be able to match the force of Rumberg on equal terms, therefore our switch of the military to a smaller, well-equipped, and autonomously led combat units will prove better in the field. I trust you will defend the country if it comes to the worst. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. As a result of the recent deal with Wayland, we have started reinforcing the border. Forward scouts have been deployed, and we have started moving our divisions. Rest assured, we are ready for anything that will come from the other side of the border. We will be providing a report to you. I don't think we will have any problems, but stay alert. We don't know what we are dealing with yet. I don't want anyone in. Do not let a single deserter pass our borders. Try to be lenient if possible. No? We won't, Mr. President. Clear his throat. Move on to our main topic. Mandatory conscription laws become a matter of discussion, and we need to strike a decision whether to keep it or remove it. Facts are that the conscription gives us a large reservist pool that can cover a large front line, but these troops lack the morale and quality to be offensive elements. It is the last step remaining to switch to a modern professional armed forces. Our restructuring is hindered by 100,000s of cadets extending our logistics, slowing command structure, and reducing the combat efficiency of our experienced units. Are they really damaging to professional armed forces? To truly modernize our fighting force, we need to rid ourselves of the sluggish and inefficient cadets thrown to the ranks. Choice is up to you. I thought for a moment before making my decision. this is a good point. Volunteers to the military tend to be a little more mission-minded. But we do need a lot of bodies to fight Rumberg. I'm hesitant to go against this guy, though, because I kind of like him. But I'm gonna probably... He's... I'm gonna go with remove it. New changes will be implemented as you wish. A strong knock on the door was heard, and the chief of the armed forces, Vulcan Kruger, walked in quickly with a frown. What is the meaning of this, Joseph? Why haven't I been invited? What's going on here? You're overstepping and interrupting a personal meeting between me and the president. Vulcan liberated the situation. I see what's going on here. I mean no disrespect, but I'm leading the ground operation. I must be informed of any strategic changes. What's your opinion on conscription? And I just already made my decision, so it doesn't really matter, but we'll hear you out. Matter is rather simple from my point of view. Our forces have gone large structural changes, changing the operational capabilities and tactics. However, at the end of the day, Rumberg has a larger army, air force, and navy. Our conscripts will fill the much-needed weakness we have. We don't share the same opinion. I could just backpedal. I'm not going to do that. Modern age requires a modern army. That settles it then. I wouldn't ask you to consider. Or I would ask you to consider. I'm content with the decision. Which I'm really not, but well, late. Move on. We also have to decide how exactly we spend our additional remaining funds in the military. In June, we decided to upgrade the equipment of our military. The military thanks the administration for the extensive support, especially in creating a modern fighting force. We need to decide what branch we would want to modernize more. Well, I think this is kind of a no-brainer. The army could be modernized and match the quality of most of our neighbors. Strategically speaking, the army would be the safest choice. However, the air and naval forces would do well with further modernization too. Which branch should we modernize? Modernize the army. Like I said, as you wish, the changes will be implemented this month and finished at the end of November. Thank you for listening. Left the Ministry of Defense and returned to the Maroon Palace. Holy shit. The news of the day is very high, and we have a positive budget now, somehow. But our economy just went down to 1. That's not good. Well, okay, this railway project isn't going anywhere either. That's kind of concerning. Oh, let's read the reports, see what our main project is. Briefing on the current economic situation. That would be why it... Okay, well, let's get all this other stuff out of the way first. Group of demonstrators led by representatives from the Sordland League of Women marched in Anrika calling for gender equality. I guess it's all internal affairs now. Crackdown on labor union. 3 labor leaders of the labor union of Sordland were arrested in Valgsland today for their ties to Red Youth. Rally despite emergency. Chief of Police Carl Greisner reported that earlier today, hundreds took to the street to protest the Valgslandians' government's actions in the Markian seat. Authorities warned protesters to disperse immediately and that the rallies could be infiltrated by enemies of the state. The crowd dispersed after the warning and the local police forces without incident. Okay. Read the report here. Chief Justice Hawker announced that the Supreme Court has accepted to review Franz Richter's complaint about the unconstitutionality of the state of emergency. The Supreme Court has taken the case and will be proceeding with a judicial review of the emergency decree. Full Sword Post. Boys to men. Not without conscription. Sound the death knell for one of Sordland's proudest traditions. President Anton Rayne has just removed the country's mandatory conscription requirements. We can therefore prepare not only for a smaller army and decreased defensive capabilities, but also for future generations of young men who have no idea how to hold a gun or follow marching orders. Newspapers' male staffers remember their time in the army as one of their most cherished formative experiences. That may have been a mistake getting rid of that. Supreme Court to review the constitutionality of the emergency decree. It's unclear whether the Supreme Court will actually reverse the very decree that they have previously reviewed. However, if the court delivers a verdict in favor of the case, the president will most likely be held accountable for unconstitutional behavior. Anton Rayne, the president of Law and Order. There we go. Here's some good pub. As Sordland took its steps into the abyss, President Rayne has declared a national emergency and prevented the downfall of our nation. A dangerous fire was lit up inside Sordland, throwing it into chaos and anarchy. The president has prevented the fire from spreading and burned our nation to the ground. However, it is not over yet. We need not only to prevent it from spreading, but extinguish it entirely. Thus, the president has extended the national emergency decree to accomplish just that. Do not listen to the radical lefts, for they have been ruining Sordland's tradition and culture with their dangerous and destructive ideas. So far to say, they are inciting treason and revolt during a time when the country is in dire need of security and peace. Trust and believe in Anton Rayne, your president, the person you voted for. The president extends the decree as the country continues healing. All seems like very, very old news here. Damn. Earlier this week, President Anton Rayne has declared an extension to the emergency decree. The decision was supported by Chief Justice Hawker himself. I had to get some water there. Kind of choking here. All this early morning talking dries my throat out, I guess. Now it says the decision was supported by Chief Justice Hawker, but I'm kind of wondering why they took up the case. Couldn't they have just denied him his request? Kind of makes me a little nervous that Chief Justice Orso Hawker is going to turn on me here. Emergency extended with pushback from the cabinet. The decree emergency has been extended and declared earlier in the week by the administration. Controversial decree has been the talking point in the assembly over the past months, with the head of PFJP, Franz Richter, saying that it's unconstitutional and undemocratic. Both true, while the court and the NFP's head, Kizaru Kiemner, are in agreement with the decision. The extension is facing similar backlash from the Minister of Justice, Ms. Morgana, and others. while Chief Justice Hawker expressed his agreement with the decision as he explained that the country has not fully recovered. The extension also stoked a new tension and widened the rift between the left and the right. Some are praising the president's decision, while others are condemning it as corrupted and a threat to democracy. We'll read this one first. WHR says Sordland's emergency violates human rights. The Watchtower of Human Rights has declared a report, or released a report, on the ongoing state of emergency in Sordland. WHR's fact-finding mission in the country has found evidence of crimes and breaches of international humanitarian laws executed by the Sordish authorities. A year of emergency which reinforced economic disintegration and social fragmentation in Sordland has resulted in the arrest of thousands, forced around 5,000 people to flee their homes, and reduced democratic freedoms, according to the Alliance of Nations. Fact report by the Watchtower of Human Rights. Government should stop targeting peaceful demonstrators and the democratic opposition and bring Sordland fully in line with its human rights obligations. Throwing civilians in jail is no way to halt conflict. Seems to be working, though. Freedom! Sordish boys no longer forced to fight. One of Sordland's most backwards traditions has finally been reversed. As of now, young men are freed from their requirements to join the Sordish army upon coming of age. High school boys are rejoicing in the newfound ability to enter university or the careers of their choice upon graduating, while military analysts point out that President Rayne's reversal of mandatory conscription will lead to a smaller but more professional army. We're just happy that these many young students who don't align with the government's aims will now no longer have to be forced to fight for them. Our President Rayne and his emergency in trouble. Dun 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 dun. With an unexpected move, the Supreme Court has decided to review the legality of the ongoing state of emergency, which was declared by President Rayne's emergency decree in the beginning of his term. Unexpected move indeed. Franz Richter has been pushing for the court to take this case for months with no avail until yesterday, when Chief Justice Hawker released a statement saying the Supreme Court had finally accepted the case. Uh-oh. There's that word. The Supreme Court holds the authority to revoke the emergency. Oh, and let's go with this. Despite the emergency's unconstitutionality being quite obvious, it is unlikely that the Supreme Court will deliver a verdict that would put President Rayne in a precarious situation. Ruling the decree illegal would also mean finding President Rayne guilty if such a verdict is delivered. A way for President Rayne's impeachment would be wide open. In the conservative stronghold of Anrika, protesters organized by the Sordish League of Women, small group of counter-protesters, blah, blah, blah. And finally, our very own dictator, Anton Rayne. Why, thank you, Radical, thank you. Words of praise, finally. Thank you. Has extended the emergency decree imposed on our nation. There is nothing stopping him from doing it again and again until he gets what he wants, destruction of our democracy. How long can we continue to be fooled by the actions of a madman who yearn for more and more power? How long can we let him trample upon our freedom and rights? We call on all of you to stand up against this corrupt man. If we don't save our democracy, nobody can. Okay. Time to have our economic meeting. Which is going to be fun. Kind of wondering where this came from. Maybe conscription is an expensive undertaking. But nevertheless, we got a positive budget, so... Team gathered in Holsword at the Ministry of Economy to conduct an economic overview. The building was constructed in 1892 by Heron Walt, one of the, if not the most famous architect in Sordland. The building looked simple and elegant, with a few of his signature domes spread out over the roof. Walking through the large bronze doors at the entrance, I was led by two assistants upstairs into a meeting room, where we have Simon Hall, Gus Manger, Mikhail Avon, David Wissey, and Edith Agnock. Let's begin. As you all know, today we will go over our economic status. Let's begin without any further ado. How are we doing in terms of the infrastructure? First months had positive indicators, but the delay of the infrastructure project reversed economic gains. Here we go. Mikhail frowned and put his finger on his chin. Why couldn't we solve the L1 high-speed rail construction issues? The National Business Council isn't happy with the lack of tangible economic improvements at all. I expected a better performance from all of you. Our first investment was meant to be a good first step. Focusing on future investments is better, as more opportunities are surely over the horizon. Certain individuals will be held accountable for their failures. I'm going to blame these guys. Surely there is still a way to finish what we have begun. From my perspective, we need more cash injected into the economy. There goes our budget. Let's hear these stats on our deal with Wayland. Our trade deal with Wayland has increased our imports and exports by 60% in 1 month, which is a considerable good number. There we go. Question answered. It was a good idea to align with Wayland. I'm not so sure about that, but time will tell. I still see it as risky. Our support for their military operations was questionable. Regardless, the numbers are clear. I must say, I still can't get behind a trade deal with Wayland, especially when it involved military cooperation. I feel like we have made a contract with the devil. What's done is done. Albeit risky, it is lucrative. Increased trade has improved our economy. It has. I see this as a reason for celebration. On a side note, consumer spending has decreased further due to the pessimistic mood caused by the issues with our economy. That is discouraging, as we did the best we could so far. I'm confident we will turn this around and adapt with adaptive projects and solutions. Okay. Good to hear. We will do better. Damn right you will. While I agree that our first attempts were not successful, we still might have economic opportunities left. It isn't good for our reputation, as the people expected quick solutions. We are running out of time. Simon checked his large dossier. Some good news. We currently have a budget surplus. That means we can pursue many investments which could drive our economy upward. I will present you the draft documents of economic expansion soon. I'll take a look. No matter the cost, we will have to increase our economic development rates. Otherwise, I am sad to say that we will be doomed. We need to use the opportunities we are shown. Trade deals and infrastructure improvements always help. I will be very clear. Dramatically takes off his glasses and puts them on the table. You already know this, and I don't want to frighten you, but we are unable to stop this recession. We are heading towards an economic catastrophe that has never been seen before in Sordland, or in all of Eastern Mercopa. I can't even begin to imagine how we could survive that. None of us wants to see Swordish people starve while the state is unable to provide for its citizens. We need to get to work. Now, there are a few methods to tackle the recession. Our surplus is a great reason to spend extra on a new investment project to push for future economic development in the future. Further economic development. Bah. I've prepared a few project proposals. So there goes our budget surplus. There are two main distinctions in between these projects, either about continuing our infrastructure improvement or investing in increased production. If we continue on our infrastructure, that would lift us up to advanced country levels. However, our industrial production suffers and also needs a boost to return to pre-recession levels. There is, of course, the option to not take any risk related to our budget. Plans for these projects will be finalized soon. For now, I can provide preliminary information. Which one would you like to hear about first? Further improve our infrastructure. For infrastructure, we have two projects. One is the Benfey International Airport, and the other is the Morna Port. Benfey is growing at a rapid pace and would benefit highly from an international airport. Much more money to be made there, too. Good news. The Morna Port will boost trade and improve the flow of goods towards Holsord because the Conriat Port is too small in capacity and extension is blocked by the Navy headquarters. Economic growth in Benfey could be propelled. It still has yet to reach its full potential. Morna could be a more significant city with a port and the advanced logistical connection to Holsord. Be better utilized. Much more money to be made there in Benfey. Benfey is rapidly developing, and there is much to gain from increasing its connectivity to the world. Imagine all the tourists that would arrive. We must focus on improving the well-being of our worst citizens, and while Morna is no poor city, it very well deserves investment. What are the projects that could boost our productivity? For production, we have two projects. One is the Sarna Agricultural Zone, and the other is the Conrat Industrial City. I see the Sarna Agricultural Zone investment as a higher priority due to the fact that farmers in Bergia were the most hit by the recession. Sarna is also much poorer than Conriat. Conriat Industrial City project has the potential to increase manufacturing in the greater Holsord region by a large amount. Conriat could benefit from a larger manufacturing industry. Go with that. We should invest and develop Conriat to diversify the economy in greater Holsord, which would mean a great deal. Manufacturing investments are the kind of investments we need for a healthy economy in our current strength. Conriat is a developing city with a lot of potential, while Sarna and Bergia regions are lackluster. Okay. That covers our subject for today. Anyone want to add anything? I'm going to make a note here. Here. Make sure the recording's still going here. Yep. Nobody answered. That concludes the meetings. Have a good day, all. Goodbye. Until next time. See you soon. All right. Got something up there. Major project. Polio cases discovered in rural Suzerain. Reports from our border cities indicate that polio outbreak Wayland, our buddies, have been moving towards Sordland. Specifically, there was a sharp increase in cases in rural Suzerain and nearby villages. Oh, polio. Pro-Bludish protests in Dyer, my hometown. Bastards. Governor of Bergia, Felix Braun, reports that a large group of students gathered in protest in downtown Dyer, disrupting traffic and acting violently. O1 Railway Construction Update. Forest Holding has reported that the construction for the Elway Rail 1 project has been officially delayed for a year. Manager of the project apologized in a public statement blaming strikes. Oh, that was the wrong choice. Thanks, Taurus Holdings. Prime Minister Van Horten warned us about the increasing naval presence of Valgsland in the Markian Sea. He showed his wishes to have a stronger naval cooperation with Sordland in the future. He can kiss my ass. Dweeb. Wayland border reinforcements announced. Wayland began the Operation Bear Trap against BFF targets. Maroon Palace has reiterated the commitment to defending our Wayland border against any threats and announced new reinforcements to the border. Palace announced that the Swordish Armed Forces are working in close cooperation with the Wessex Armed Forces. Housewives march to defend Swordish tradition in Anrika. As the Swordish League of Women spearheaded a march for so-called education equality in Anrika, a group of self-proclaimed happy housewives led a counter-protest. Their argument is that pulling girls out of handicraft classes and forcing them into science classes alongside boys would be an affront to Swordish tradition, happy housewives, and that co-ed restrooms will be the logical next step. Oh, okay, I see what they're saying. Alright, so we're going down the don't gender me route here, I guess. We'll just go along here. Protesters brutally beaten by police. Too bad. Rayne closes door to refugees from Wayland. Too bad. Taurus delays railway construction. Yeah. As expected, Taurus Holdings failed to meet their deadline and announced a delay to the much-expected L1 railway project. We are unsure why the president decided to pick the company other than Underhaul for the task of this scale. There is now a lot of uncertainty around the finish date of the project and whether it will be completed during the first term of President Rayne. However, at least one thing is certain. Picking Taurus as the main contractor was a recipe for disaster. I'll agree. Bad choice. But hindsight being what it is. Operation Bear Trap begins. President Smolak has declared the start of Operation Bear Trap against the separatist military groups that plagues the Northern Wayland. Watchtower of Human Rights said they will be following the developments closely. Amid spiking tensions with Agnolia, Valgsland increased naval presence. Sudden and simultaneous appearance of two carriers accompanied by Navy cruisers, destroyers, and aircraft come as Valgsland escalates criticism of Agnolia. Increased control over Helgeland. Sordland's diplomacy disappoints. The new diplomatic initiative presented by the Foreign Ministry has led to a major disappointment when President Anton Rayne went to Stallport only to come back empty-handed. This news seems to be lagging a little bit. But we got new allies. We got that guy down there. No worries. Alright. The Minister of Economy has put forward 4 bold plans for investment projects, with each aiming to solve different issues, ranging from production to infrastructure. The 4 available investments are Benfey International, Morna Seaport, Conradt Industrial Zone, and Sarna Industrial Zone, -2 on our budget, so that'll put us back into the negative. God damn, I wish they'd give me more than one choice. See, both of these are what I want to do. I want to do them both. I'm going to go with the industrial zone. Goes our budget. Okay. No news. This. Dire. Budget allocation of healthcare. Oh boy. That's going to be a big one. So we're going to pick that up in the next episode. I feel like we didn't really accomplish much good in this episode here. Well, we picked the industrial zone. That's probably not a bad choice to go with. Jobs, all. But having second thoughts about that conscription, doing away with the conscription, but it's a little late now, so we'll have to live with the consequences of our decision as we go forward. Anyway, if you liked the episode, hit the like button. It will help the series out a little bit with the YouTube algorithm. If you have any thoughts, tips, or advice, put those in the comment section below. As we move along through the douchebag playthrough on Suzerain, wouldn't mind having you join us, so hit the subscribe and come along with us, and we will see you guys for the next episode. Thank you very much for watching, and have yourself a very good day.